Okay, so welcome everybody. My name's Lara Gold. I'm an accredited psychotherapist and also a leadership coach. I've had my own private practice now for about the last 13 years. I've also worked with a number of different organisations for the past 6 to 7 years, co-facilitating different learning outcomes such as leadership, personal presence, impact. And I'm going to be your guide today in looking more at this topic of how we're impacting others. So a little bit about my own personal experience in this. I learned a huge amount in my first career, in my early 20s, when I used to work at Morgan Stanley in Canary Wharf. And as you can probably imagine, there was a lot of high achievers, highly successful individuals. And as I started to question, really what was driving these individuals, what were they motivated by, it actually really helped me get more of a sense of the group dynamics and loosen my attachment to what was happening on a day-to-day level. I've also developed my thinking around this topic through my own private practice. And essentially there's sort of reoccurring themes that come in, which is really developing people's self-awareness, but also our awareness of the other, of relationship. So I do bring a fair amount of experience to this workshop today, but we're going to start with you guys, and the question we're going to invite you to discuss together is, who in your life would you like to improve or manage your impact on? And we would encourage you to start with that as a conversation and just take 2 minutes to have that, and what are the benefits of that as well. Off you go.
Well, I would like to improve my relationship and my output with any future employer, really, because I'm an experienced accountant who's been out of the workplace for a number of years, and with a lot to offer. It's enabling myself to feel confident to actually make that step.
Cool. And mine is more with my current team. So I've been with a team that's grown from the beginning together, and I'm now at a point where I potentially could become the team leader for that team, having grown up and worked with them for a little while. So mine's about establishing that credibility, but also that trust that to be able to lead and manage that team when we've been on the same level for quite a while. And I think kind of the benefit to that will obviously be about the success of that team and myself, I suppose, to be able to deliver what we need to deliver without kind of damaging those relationships that we've already got.
And making that next step up successfully,
Yeah. Great. So one of the key words there was really about credibility, and also what I was hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, was around developing an inner confidence and flexibility there, that you can flex from one situation to another. And we could extend those sort of benefits. We could start to think, if we really develop our awareness of our impact on others, this could lead to more inner confidence, more rewarding relationships, conflict resolution as well, more cohesive, dynamic teams. So do these sound like kind of benefits that would be good to have?
Yeah, definitely.
Something worth investing our time in today?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So a little bit of science around this topic. So one of the key theories in this area that's really added a lot of value is something called relationship awareness theory. Now, the very interesting thing in this whole study that's been going on for about 40 years now is that rather than seeing the behaviour as an end goal in itself, we can start to see the all behaviour, as a vehicle towards which we are either consciously or unconsciously attempting to gain greater sense of self-worth in the world. So the key learning here is that our behaviour can be viewed through the lens of different motivational styles. So to understand our own motivational styles, we're going to take a little quiz. So this is designed to be fun and interactive, and very much to be answered, from your own perspective as well. And rather having it in the background, your sense of what your current behaviour is, I would encourage you more to be thinking about these questions through the lens of, What situations are going well in my life? What situations do I leave feeling good about? So I'll hand those out now. There's one for you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, Rachel, there's one for you and you, Jill. And we'll take 2 minutes to answer these questions. And you can see that there are 10 points to be allocated across each question, and you can allocate those 10 points according to what's most true for you. Does that make sense?
It does, yes.
Okay, great. So we'll take 2 minutes. Okay, so it seems like everyone's finished a little bit earlier, which is great. So now what I would ask you to do is to add up your scores. So you should have 3 scores at the bottom, adding them all up. Clearly the accountant in the room is extremely zippy at such tasks. All right, so that's done?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we're going to put those questionnaires down to one side now, and we'll debrief on those a bit later on. So the next piece is just to start to understand a little bit about what motivational styles are in general. So to begin with, just to back up a little bit, this whole area of study dates way back to ancient Greece and Hippocrates, one of the grandfathers of medicine, if you like. And he observed something called the 4 humours, or 4 personality traits. And he observed that if we can determine what type of humour or personality trait someone fell into, then we could actually predict their likely behaviour. Now this is a kind of interesting area of study that was then picked up again by Carl Jung, one of the grandfathers of psychology in the 1900s, who looked at this concept of psychological personality traits. And then this went on to inspire the work of Myers-Briggs and the personality test that you've probably all had experience of. And this is the inspiration for Mind Gym's model of motivational styles as well. Now for Mind Gym, there are 4 motivational styles. The first is the carer. The carer's sense of self-worth is really gained through nurturing others. They are motivated towards situations where their help is needed. Strengths include being loyal, supportive, being effective networkers. So careers that a carer would fall into, any sense of what that might be? Typical kind of career could be maybe a nurse or a teacher, exactly. A coach, yes, as well. So then the second type is the professional. A professional sense of self-worth is gained through creating meaningful order in their life. They're motivated towards being autonomous, being logical. Strengths are around being fair, perseverance, methodical. Any sense of what a...
Accountant?
An accountant!
It's me, that's
Excellent! Well, it's really good to have you here, Jill. An accountant, insurance, architect, these types of things, methodical, meaningful order. Then we also have the driver. The driver's sense of self-worth is gained through getting things done. They're motivated towards forging a path for others to follow. So it's really a leadership context there. Strengths, ambitious, being determined, being quick to act. Careers, any ideas there?
Could be some leadership roles, I would say, maybe consultancy or
Yeah, where you're kind of results driven, so you've got targets, so sales, things like that.
Definitely.
sales,
Absolutely. There's a huge number, in fact all of my colleagues when I used to work investment banking, I would say, definitely driver motivated. And then fourthly we have the adapter as well, and the adapter's sense of self-worth is around being flexible, meeting multiple demands, and they're really a combination of all three. The really interesting thing about an adapter is that they balance out existing team members. So for example, if you get a professional and a driver together, the adapter will move into the carer mode in order to balance out. So it's really interesting. Careers for that kind of personality, any quick thoughts about that? Someone who's really flexible, really tolerant, open to change, good at socialising, adaptable essentially. So maybe support staff, working in a big team, maybe even acting, something like that. So the point here is that different people are anchored by different motivational styles, and this presents all kinds of challenges and opportunities and potential strengths as well, positives. So we're going to come back now to looking at our own motivational styles, and the idea here is that by doing that, this will help us to work more effectively with other people with other motivational styles. And just to say that rarely do we have one pure style. You know, that's highly unlikely, but it's much more common that we're all a percentage of all four of them, just depends on the context. So what I'm going to invite you to do first is to write the letters P, C and D down by your bottom scores. P obviously standing for professional, C standing for carer, D standing for driver. Now I'm going to ask you to all stand up. And anyone with a score of over 40?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so you can sit down, Jill, and that score would be your dominant style.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone now with a score of under 23? No? Okay, so you're still left standing. So actually that means that you've probably got a fairly equal mix of all three, which would class you as an adapter, Rachel.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right to you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so if you would like to sit down as an adapter, so now maybe, so we've got no blends here, so we've got an adapter and a driver. So are you surprised by your results?
No,
Not at all. Okay, tell me why.
I've not done this before, but I've done kind of Myers-Briggs and quite a few other things.
Yeah.
And the professional of my scores was at 24, so that could have dropped off, but the other two I would say are definitely my dominant traits, and there was basically nothing in between those two, and they were a lot higher.
Okay.
And it is how I am. I'm quite driven, and I like challenge and excitement, but I love people as well, so bringing the two together is how I tend to enjoy doing both. I'm less kind of the box ticking professional one, but it was still slightly over 23.
So that definitely fits with how your perception of yourself. Okay. Yeah. And what about you, Jill?
So my P was 45.
Okay.
So I thought I would be firmly and professional.
Yes.
But I think, did you say I was a driver?
You were a driver, weren't you?
No, I think you said professional. We said that, didn't we? Accountancy would be.
Yeah.
What's
my first score is 45.
And that's P.
And that's P. So professional. So that really fits then.
I am that person.
And do you change depending on the context?
I have as I've got older.
Yes.
And in different situations, I do. But I'm not an adapter, and I can be a driver, and I can be a carer, but I am firmly anchored in professional.
Yes, that's right. I think that's the point, that we have these anchor points, and as we grow and develop, we realise that we can flex. But the point is being aware of what is our dominant style, or what we're most likely to do, then helps us flex a little bit more, perhaps when we're around people of different motivational styles. Next question, how well do you think you need to know someone to know what their motivational style is? You know, do you think you could kind of meet someone within the first 30 seconds and get a sense of that, or what do you think would be the kind of...
I think it depends on the context, because I think, like you say, people do tend to, as you get through life, manage those styles sometimes, especially as I've got the two, and I tend to go more towards one in a professional environment than I do in a non-professional. And I think, but on the whole, you get a bit of, I'm not surprised with where you sit, I don't know if you are with me, but I would have I think you can tell, but I do think sometimes people surprise you as well, and they can come across within a certain way with a front, and then it can change over time.
Yes,
So.
I agree, and I think once you have an idea of who you're with and their style, you can adapt your style to meet theirs, because that does help a situation if you're sort of working in the same direction. I've encountered that in work situations myself, and it does help as a leader to know what styles your staff are.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think it's an advantage or a sort of a best case scenario to have a whole range of different motivational
Absolutely,
styles in a
yes,
team?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think as a leader you need to know the strengths and the weaknesses of your staff, so that you can get the best out of them. So if you know that you have somebody who is a professional, you know how to work them in a particular way, whereas you wouldn't give them a certain job, which means they can be totally flexible about everything, because it probably wouldn't be playing to their strengths. So you want to challenge people in different ways, but you want them to be, doing the role that they're best at, really. But I think as a leader, if you understand your staff's strengths and weaknesses, it can enable you hugely to get the best of your talent.
Which is only going to make them happier at the end of the day too. They get that recognition, which is what we were talking about earlier. All right. Well, thank you for being part of this 20-minute short mind gym tryout, and just thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's it. I think that is the time, and we've gone. Yeah, we did it in 17 minutes. So.